What's going on, folks? Your boy again, Dr. Sean Thomas, back in the building with the Be More Today show. We are back. We are back. We are back in the building, folks. And here again, episode 125. What a big number. This
Wow.
thing. The Be More Today show has grown so much in the last 4 years. Again, 78 countries, over 47,000 downloads. It's all thanks to your love and support that this show continues to grow. Now officially on Spotify for podcasters. If you're on Spotify, please go on there and subscribe, follow the show. We love support. We love the comments. We love all of the things that you give us as we give to you, continuing to keep you always on the move to be great. And again, we always like to bring people on the show who are ordinary people doing extraordinary things in the world of health and fitness. So thank you all for your love and support. It does not go unnoticed. And for those who don't know or just forgot or just want to be reminded, Be More Today show is everywhere. BeMoreToday.com has my book. Our More merch store is open with all of our latest apparel. And if you're looking for a running coach, I'm your guy. Email me at info@BeMoreToday.com for any of your running tips. As I continue to train for Berlin, which is happening in September of this year, join me for the journey. It's going to be a fun one this year as we go international for this thing. And I look forward to the journey that our club, Spartan Sunday Running Club, will continue to do as well, as we have a number of people who will be running in NYC and in Chicago this year as well. So be a part of the journey. It's going to be great for all of us. And my quote for today is simple as always. It's not enough to make steps that may someday lead to a goal. Each step must be itself a goal and a step likewise. And one thing we talk about on the show is that everybody focuses on like the end result, right? We all focus on the big picture, the trophy at the end, the accolades, the championships, the winning times, all those things. But it really takes steps. It really takes step-by-step progress, step-by-step motivation, step-by-step going through your journey. And it's not an easy thing, whether you're talking about this running journey or you're talking about professional goals or writing a book, starting a family, all these different things. It really takes steps. And I think a lot of people get frustrated when they look at the steps they're taking and they see that one step may be harder than the next, or they're not taking big enough steps, or the process is longer than they expected. And I'm here to just tell you that every single step you take is a good one. And it may lead to a different goal. And every step you take is going to take you forward to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And I've shown you guys that in my journeys to get through so many things in my own life. This Be More Today journey itself has been that thing where every single step has been, whether forward or backwards, a journey of learning, of being better. I was watching Giannis talk to a reporter the other day, and the reporter was asking him if he thought that the season that they had was a failure because he didn't get to the championship because they got knocked out in the first round. It's the number one seed in the NBA. They lost in the first round. And Giannis' response is very, very clear. He was like, every step I take is I learn from. Every step I do is an experience that I'm learning from. It's not about winning and losing or failure or not failure. It's a journey. And it's all steps to get to greatness. It's all steps to be great. And it's true. Whether you go out there, you win or you lose, you're still learning from the experience. You're still learning from the little thing that will make you stronger in the end. And I was really connected to Giannis when he said that on the interview, because I saw that here's this guy who the reporter's literally like looking to him to say, well, how do you feel about losing? But Giannis is like, yo, I'm a winner regardless of what happens today or tomorrow. We didn't win this year, but there's always going to be next year. And that's the same thing for you. There's always going to be a chance for you to go out there and to be great and to find your steps to greatness, to be the best version of you. As we say on every single show, is the key, whether you're doing stuff professionally or personally. Go out there and take your steps to greatness. And you never know where they're going to lead. You may be on a path that you thought was one way, and it may make a complete right turn and go somewhere different. But that difference can be the opening to a whole new world. And my guest on the show today is the embodiment of that. He is a new friend of mine. I'm happy to actually connect with him. And he is the owner and founder of Cadence Insoles. His name is Dr. John Hinds. Now, John Hinds is an established physical therapist, and I love bringing PTs on the show because they think the same way I do. He's graduated from California State University, Northridge, with a Bachelor of Science degree in physical therapy in 1992. And from there, went on to work in a variety of areas, working with all kinds of people in backgrounds for athletes, runners, Special Olympic competitors, all kinds of people. He worked in outpatient for a couple years, did some private practice also in the Santa Monica area, and then went on to create and found his company, Cadence Insoles. In his words, he says, I like to say the insoles connects your foot to the shoe. There are a lot of great shoes on the shelves with wonderful midsoles, outsoles, and beautiful styles and visuals with different levels of cushion and comfort. But your foot sits inside the sole, an insole. A good shoe is a great place to start and no doubt can provide comfort, stability, safety, traction, style, among other functions. But a quality insole inside a good pair of shoes or boots takes fit and feel to another level, and you don't need to have an injury to benefit. Folks, I'm so happy to have him on the show today. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, pets included, please welcome to the stage my new best friend and a fellow runner, John Hinds. John Hinds, what is going on?
Hey, well, thank you, Dr. Thomas. Thank you for that very kind intro there. And hey, congratulations on episode 125, man. That's cool. That is cool, man. Congratulations. Congratulations. That's great.
Thank you very much. It's been a journey. This show has been progressively getting better every single time we bring on a new guest, and it's been growing, and our reach is growing, and we've had so many great people who've come on the show, including yourself today, who've been sharing their knowledge, their wisdom, their experiences with the rest of the world. So I'm happy to have you as the guest for episode 125. It's going to be a great one, so I appreciate your time.
Wow, thank you. Thank you.
Listen, Doc, I appreciate your journey. And as a senior therapist on this show, as you are compared to me, I have a number of questions before we even talk about the insoles. But I do want to give a shout out to Ishmael Torres. He connected us. As you guys all know, Spartan Sunday Running Club is our running club here in Brooklyn. I am a certified running coach. Ishmael helps me to run that club here in Brooklyn. We've grown so much in the last 4 or 5 years, and he has been raving about your insoles. So before I talk about the insoles, I want to talk about you as another physical therapist coming on the show. And I know you went from outpatient therapy to doing inpatient things. And, I'm just curious for you, as you've gone through the gambit of looking at all the different healthcare options that have been out there, as someone who has contemplated private practice myself a number of times, and I still am in that phase of let me just do this thing and just bite the bullet. What are some things you've learned from your experience in regard to entrepreneurship, in regards to healthcare, looking at outpatient and private practice, and some of the things you've learned when it comes to the PT world, in terms of some of the challenges that come with either working in outpatient or working as a private practice owner, and how you can really maintain the autonomy you want for your patients in a healthcare system that can be so challenging sometimes.
Yeah. Well, good questions. Good questions. A lot in there. Well, first and foremost, I got to say that physical therapy as a profession has got to be one of the most rewarding professions, jobs, activities that I think anybody can do. And if anybody out there is considering it, I highly recommend it, and feel free to reach out to me if you have questions, because it's just a fantastic profession, and with so much reward and satisfaction built in. You work with people that, well, I had the opportunity as an outpatient therapist, for 24 plus years, to work with people of all backgrounds, all ages, and from say 9 years old to mid 80s to early 90s, and you get to know these people pretty well, as Sean, from you work with them from 1 day a week to 3 days a week, right? For weeks at a time, months at a time, and you get to know them pretty well. And of course, your job, they're in there for a specific reason, and your job is to get them back to a certain level of function. And it's just an amazing experience, an amazing journey, an amazing profession. So I highly recommend that to start with. And then, yeah, you learn, I mean, you learn so much on the way. And as far as business is concerned, and I guess going from, starting with inpatient and working with outpatient and then dabbling in private practice, a lot to unpack, lot to learn. A lot of it's hindsight, of course, like anything, right? You go through your journey and you don't realize maybe in the moment that you're learning things, but certainly looking back, you do. So as far as, say, let's just take the example, one of your questions was, maybe going from outpatient, staff therapist to a private practice owner. What do you learn from that? Well, quite a bit. And again, a lot of it's hindsight. I did private practice for a couple of years, was very fortunate. And, but you learn that as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you can't do everything yourself. One of the most important things is, and as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you wear many hats, and you try to, you self-fund, you bootstrap, and you do as much as you can on your own. But the sooner you can learn to invite other people and have people, whether it's your wife, significant other, partner, whoever that you can bring into the equation to help you out, that is very important, and will lead to more success as a business and you personally, as a person, because it's going to take pressure off of you. So being your own boss is great, and with that, of course, comes more responsibility, more accountability. You might have staff and people depending on you, and you have to be accountable to them, and you have different, among your different hats. You're a clinic in the world of physical therapy anyway. You're a clinician, but you're also an administrator. You've got equipment to maintain and purchase, and schedules, and then patient care, of course, the clinical stuff. So you got a lot of plates in the air, right? And so you have time management issues, and but it really, know your strengths and weaknesses, know your limitations, recognize those things, and learn how to navigate the different ways to utilize resources for success. And that is, again, you have strengths and weaknesses. Work with your strengths, with your weaknesses. Learn how to use others to take over those duties, that can help you. And that was one of the biggest takeaways as far as, from maybe working for somebody to maybe opening your own practice. A few things there.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And those are all nuggets that I've been dabbling with on my own. I'm a clinical director for a company that's one of the biggest companies in the Northeast right now, and it's great. Everything is fantastic. I love it, and I know a number of people have gone on to do their own thing in private practice, and I've even thought about doing that as well at some point in time. And I'm always just curious to ask private practice owners, what the journey is like and the experience is like. And many of them say it's just too much. It's just overwhelming. It's just everything. And some people are like, "Yo, I love it. I love it too, so much." So I'm always just curious just to ask and see what the experience is like, in case I ever do want to go down that road myself. So I appreciate you sharing that with me.
Yeah.
And all of those things have led you down so many roads, and I'm just curious now. You've done so much in the world of PT, and that has led you to this breaking point in your life, these steps in your life, where you have started your own insole company called Cadence Insoles. Now, how has that journey that you've gone through inspired you to step away from the practice of physical therapy and into the entrepreneurship role of owning and developing and putting out there this company called Cadence Insoles? How did it start? And what was the motivation behind you stepping away from the clinical aspect and now going into this part of rehab, really, for everyone?
Yeah. Well, probably twofold. Number one was probably just the benefit I saw of a particular design, the benefit to patients that I worked with. And number two was just selfishness, because insoles and footwear and shoes in particular, have been a passion of mine for years. Even before I knew what an insole was, as a kid growing up, running around the streets, I'd stuff my Nike Cortez back in the 70s, with different pieces of cushion and cork just to make my shoes feel better. Yeah, I had no idea what an insole was, but I just wanted more comfort and cushion, so I'd stuff my shoes. And I did this throughout, junior high and growing up, playing sports in high school, and then got into physical therapy. And then, my focus as a physical therapist was the lower extremities. So worked with, my days were filled working with, the feet and knees, basically. So, I'd get people coming in with custom orthotics and people coming in with over-the-counter insoles and whatnot. And that was when it was appropriate. We'd utilize that. And if it was part of the treatment plan, great. We'd incorporate that into the treatment plan. And I work with a lot of runners. Triathlon was big in my area, so running obviously was a big activity and very popular. So I worked with a lot of runners, and some people would come in with these $300, $600 orthotics, and occasionally they would tell me that they hurt more than they helped. And so I had the opportunity to customize them a little bit here and there. And I would maybe add a little more cushioning here, a little more cushion there. And the big thing was I'd cut out an area in the heel so that the foam would go through to the shoe, and their heel wouldn't be sitting on a hard piece of plastic or nylon. And I had a lot of success with that. And so basically over time, I saw what tended to help or not help these people and, my patients, and then just recognize different elements helped more than others. And these elements sometimes were expensive, and they certainly weren't available at the local running store or at the local, sporting goods store. And so just over time, I said, gosh, well, nobody's doing this. Well, why can't I? And, one of those things, build a better mousetrap type of thing. So anyway, long story short, I incorporated the elements I had success with in the clinic and just started designing my own more out of, not as a business per se, really. I still didn't really consider making a business out of it. I was just doing it to help my patients, and again, selfishly, because I'm still obsessed with insoles and shoe comfort. So I'm doing it to see what works for me. And but then as I designed these things and got in touch with people to actually make a product, and I started giving them to people and shopping them around to a degree, I had more and more success with it, and it just kind of naturally evolved into a business. Like, hey, well, gosh, just one of those things that takes on a life of its own, that the old snowball effect, and it just evolved on its own. And next thing you know, I sold it to a store, and then another store, and another store, and so that's kind of the nutshell version of how Cadence came to be, just from in the clinic and a personal passion, and never really intended to be a business, but happened to be a business. And you're talking about how journeys can take, different paths. And it got to the point where, I started out with the one product, and it got busy, and I just couldn't do two things at once. I couldn't be a therapist in a clinic and try to organize and run this business that developed on the sides. And so I chose, after 25 plus years as a clinical physical therapist, I said, well, man, let's try this. Let's go down this path for a little bit and see what happens. You get a little bit of a runway, you make some sales, and it's like, man, okay, let's do this. And you start talking to people. And anyway, that was kind of the journey of from PT to business owner of this crazy Cadence insole idea.
That's incredible. I applaud you for that, because I think that we as clinicians sometimes get very, very stuck in only being able to do certain things, right? Whether you're in a hospital setting or you're outpatient or inpatient or wherever you're gonna be doing, that's your goal. We work so hard to get through school. We work so hard to get our degree and to pass our board exam. And then, you think that this is going to be the thing. You're going to just do this for the rest of your life. And I think there are some people who do those things, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I do think that there are others who go out there and say, okay, I'm going to use this platform now for something else. And sometimes it's inevitable. Sometimes it just happens. Sometimes it's not even on the radar, but these things do happen. Opportunities do come up. And you, sir, use your interest in insoles, even from your own practical experience. I know you played a number of sports in school and continue to be athletic and active on your own, but you've used that experience to go out there and now change the game for others. And I commend you for that, for a number of reasons, because I think that you saw a need and you filled it. And, one of the things that I'm really impressed with is that how we can use even our innate background with learning about gait training and cadence and kinesiology and whatever else that we do with our patients every single day, talking about how they can work on their foot inversion strength and work on, if someone has flat feet or high, or high arches, what they can do just to work on their walking better. Providing insoles has always been a thing that we always say, oh yeah, go out there and get some insoles. And from personal experience, I know getting insoles is not an easy thing to do, right? You're talking about going to either a store like a Walmart or wherever else, and you have your Dr. Scholl's and whatever else is on the counter. And then you're talking about sometimes going down the route of a prescription with an MD and going to get custom fitted, and that whole process, which can be very, very expensive. And, people, it's not covered by insurance. People are paying for that out of pocket. So it's a whole gambit when it comes to this thing. And some people just get caught in saying, you know what? Forget it. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to just deal with it. And some people say, I'll just get the ones that are at Walmart or wherever else, because it's just easier to do that. So you provided now this thing, Cadence Insoles, this company that gives kind of a middle ground of the expertise of a PT, which everyone wants, right? Everyone talks about being on these force plates and going to these stores and walking on treadmills. And, I wish I had somebody to check out my gait, but we do this, is what we do. Right now, you've done this yourself, and now create this company, this brand that's being put out there, Cadence Insoles. What makes Cadence Insoles different from all the other companies that are out there? There's Superfeed and all the other companies that are out there that are very, very marketable, and I use a number of them. And I have some of yours here, so I just wanted to hear your thoughts, and I appreciate you sending these to me in the mail. But what makes Cadence Insoles different than other insoles that may be on the market today?
Yeah, good question. Good question. So what I found was, people would come in and there were supportive insoles and there were cushioned insoles. And supportive insoles were typically firm and, supportive, as they should be, right? And that was their goal. And then there was cushioned insoles that were cushioned and meant for comfort, but not supportive. And so I had most success with kind of in the in-between, a hybrid of sorts, where I'd take a supportive insole and put more cushioning on top. And it kind of offered the best, what I call the best of both worlds. You had a supportive insole that was actually comfortable. And, not to say that support only or cushion only don't have their place. They certainly do. And, everybody's an individual, and one person who benefits from one thing, that's great, but there are people that might benefit from, other elements. And so basically I had a lot of success with that in between. My tagline is support made comfortable. And that's kind of what started it. I just wanted to make a supportive insole that was more comfortable and not a hard shell only, and had more relief in the heel. As you know, plantar fasciitis is a huge issue for a lot of people out there. And that was probably my number one issue that I worked with as far as a foot diagnosis. And so, creating a little more relief under the heel. And so that's how I designed my Cadence. And that's really what sets it apart. It's just it's an insole that provides support, but has more shock absorbing comfort. So contoured support with shock absorbing comfort. And it really resonates with a lot of people. And it's just another choice, it's another option for those that benefit or prefer more shock absorbing comfort with a supportive insole. And so you have your supportive insoles, you have your cushioned insoles, and you have kind of, I fit nicely right in between. And it's just resonated with a lot of people, and has, knock on wood, been fairly successful. And I'll, even as the owner of the company, though, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, my particular design is for everybody, and it's not going to cure everything that walks through the door. Different strokes for different folks. Everybody's an individual, and but it has its place, and it's helped quite a bit. And so that's what sets it apart. It's kind of a hybrid of sorts.
That's great. I definitely, as someone who's gone both ends, I've got the custom made orthotics that I had to get my feet casted for, and they were very, very comfortable, but they were almost too comfortable. And I was, when I was running in them, I felt like they were just kind of squishy, and they didn't really feel comfortable running, but they felt great walking in. Then I had my over-the-counter ones that I would buy every now and then for my running shoes and whatever else, and they were good too. But once I maybe felt a little bit too rigid, and like you said, it's sometimes hard to really get that right fit for you because everybody's foot's different.
Right.
So you go out there and making a hybrid version that gives that support and that comfort is, I think, something that the people are definitely looking for. And I have a number of them here that I've been going through, and they're all different. I think the beauty of the difference in between these is that anyone can hop into here, whether you have low arches or high arches, or knowing what kind of foot you have is always beneficial to see what's best for you. But the fact that there's so many different options now in terms of your company gives it diversity it needs, because everybody's foot is different. And it's kind of hard to go online and say, oh, I need orthotics, and most things you find are kind of stock, right? They're kind of just stock. Well, you just try these and see how they go. But that doesn't really work, because everybody's foot's different, everybody's weight is different, their activities are different, their shoes are different. So having the variety that your company has is great. My question for you now, Sarah, is if I go on your site and I'm a runner, or I'm not a runner at all, I'm just trying to figure out how to fix some of my, not even fix, but help some of my foot pain, whether it's plantar fasciitis or otherwise. How do I go on there and figure out which of these brands is the best for me, or which of these models is the
Yeah,
best?
that's a good question. It's hard. It can be challenging if you really um, don't know what your foot type is, or have a little bit of knowledge of what might or may not help. And so you can go on the website, you can read about the different models and what sets each model apart. I have thinner models for those shoes that maybe are lower volume shoes, and so don't have room for a full thicker insole. And a lower arch versus the higher arches, and 3/4 models versus full length models. If you have a shoe that maybe the forefoot is certainly a lower volume forefoot in the shoe, and it won't fit. You can't fit a full length insole in there. So that's easy enough to navigate. As far as the differences between them, they all do have that cut out on the heel, so you get the relief in the heel. It's not sitting on a piece of plastic. There's some amount of cushioning under the heel. And I use a specific type of foam, so you get that in all models. Have a specific type of foam that it has certain cushioning properties. High rebound type foam that doesn't compress maybe as quickly as other foams do. But I only so you can learn about the different models online, and then ideally, to purchase. I only sell one of the models online, and the others are in store only, in an effort to support my brick and mortars as much as I can. But so you can learn about them online. You can purchase one of my models, online. But for the others, if somebody were to go on there and say, oh, well, the Met pad, the one with the Met pad, yeah, my doctor, really thinks I need a Met pad, and that's going to help my foot. And you can learn about it, but if you want to purchase it, you'd have to find a retailer near you to purchase that particular model, because it's just exclusive to in-store sales only. But and I do well with the sit and fit. So you're talking about different feet and different equipment, different shoes, and so I leave the fitting as much as possible to the people in the stores, that can really guide a customer to what they might need, what might work best for them. Again, they can buy the one model online, but for the others, hopefully they find a good a sit and fit type of shoe store that they can go into and have and get fit for a particular model, and try them against others, and try them in different pairs of shoes, bring in different pairs of shoes so they can really get a sense of how it feels for their foot, how it's going to work for them in a particular shoe for a particular activity.
Gotcha. So I feel special for a number of reasons because I got like 5 different versions here and I didn't have to go to the store to get these. So I appreciate that, John.
Yeah.
2 questions I have for you now. So I have the one here with the metatarsal pad. Can you just
Yeah.
one explain to the people who might benefit from having an insole with the metatarsal pad? Because I know most stock insoles, and even the ones that they make that are sometimes custom, may or may not have that insert in there. So what kind of people would
Yeah.
benefit from a metatarsal pad?
Yeah, good question. It's an interesting story behind that met pad, but basically that metatarsal pad is basically I don't know if you can see it here, but it's another little supportive pad that you find in the forefoot of the foot. So we have, 3 arches in the foot, and the typical arch that most people know about is that, the arch on the side, the inside of the foot, right? That instep, that medial, what's called the medial longitudinal arch. And then we have sometimes, or some people, some feet will have also an arch in the forefoot area. So along the toes at the base of the foot, behind the met heads, the ball of the foot, basically. And there's a little arch that goes across from the big toe to the little toe. And so that metatarsal pad kind of helps support that transverse arch, or that arch that goes across that forefoot. And so for some people, they can get more pressure. They have more pressure on the ball of the foot, and they have maybe a Morton's neuroma, where they get some numbness and some irritation in a particular area in the forefoot. And so that metatarsal pad, or that little arch that's formed there, if you support that forefoot, you just take pressure off. You distribute the pressure in that forefoot arch better, so that it just alleviates pressure in that forefoot area. So that can be really helpful for that. And it's statistically, there's a met pad or metatarsal pad, sales, you're not going to, it's just different. Not many people utilize a met pad. And I was told, actually, I was asked for many years hey, you got to make a model with a met pad, make a model with a met pad. But I avoided it because it's a pretty specific and subjective and individual fitting to have a metatarsal pad, because people's feet are so different. But anyway, so I came up with my own design, and it's been way more successful than I ever thought it would be. But it is specific to people's feet, and it can be tricky to fit, but they can be very helpful to just distribute the pressure in the forefoot, bottom line, much more evenly, so people get a better mechanical, I guess, fit. It can be very helpful for a lot of people, and doctors like it. And it can be very helpful for those that need it. Yeah.
I gotta say that's my favorite one. And I'm only saying that because I have a number of I did track and field in college. I played all kinds of sports, soccer and lacrosse and whatever else. So my feet are not the best. I've had a plantar plate tear in my foot before, it non-surgical, kind of healed on its own. I was in a boot for a while. And that's when I actually started wearing orthotics, because I recognized that my foot it needed support, and I was putting more pressure in other places than it should have been put on. So the orthotics did help, but there was not one that really was special for that issue. Besides my arches being low and the metatarsal, the met plate tear, and so many other things. So I've been trying this one out, and it's been great. I've been actually running in that one, and that's probably been the most comfortable one I've been using. So
cool.
I agree with you. There are so many things that come from all the varieties of models that you made, and you never know which one's going to be the best for that person. But that one for me has been the best, and it's been very, very comfortable. So I salute you for that. So
Cool.
yeah,
it's funny because when I first started kind of testing and prototyping and designing this particular model, I'd wear them, right, obviously. And so I hated the feeling of the Met pad. It felt to me initially, because I wasn't used to it, it just felt horrible. But the more I wore it, after a day or two, I'm like, wow, where has this been all my life? It's like, this is great. Now I know why. And just my foot happened to adapt to it, and it really liked it. It's like my go-to now. It's like my favorite, one of my favorite models that I have.
Yeah.
Funny
It's
how that
funny.
happened.
Absolutely. And I'm kind of mad at not myself, but just mad, I guess, at the inability for us as sports enthusiasts, as move professionals. I did a lot of running in high school and college, and I always had a foot issue. And I was never told what the issue was. Like I did long jump, triple jump, and I always had a hard time jumping off my left foot. And I thought it was me. I was like, oh, what's wrong with me? I'm having a hard time coordination, whatever else. But because I was flat-footed, I didn't have the support to just push off properly with so much momentum and force at the board. If I had orthotics at that time, which I did not, because I 2000, I didn't have orthotics. We weren't talking about those, and I should have had someone instruct me in those, but it wasn't that the first thing we talked about. But if I had those, I think all the athletes who if they had access to these things earlier, I mean, the shoes that we wear now and technology now is just so much more progressive. So there's more attention to those things. But back in the day, and I'm sure you can relate. Although you seem to be ahead of the game because you were doing your own orthotics back in the day. But most people didn't have that ability to see, what was wrong with either their walking or their gait based on a simple thing like an orthotic. It wasn't always the first go-to thing was, oh, maybe you need to get stronger here or there, or just change different shoes. Maybe it's the shoe you're wearing. But sometimes it can be a different shoe, but the same foot problem is going to be there. So, I think you've now provided a seamless, palatable solution for people who have so many foot issues, from plantar fasciitis to Achilles tendonitis, and all the other things that happen just from doing your regular activities or even doing sports activities. So, I commend you for that. I commend you for that.
Yeah, well, thanks. And it's, as you know, it just can be one of the tools that we use, right? So as a physical therapist, we have all these tools, and we look at, physical conditioning. We look at mobility. We look at strength for stability. We look at, how people train. We look at the frequency, the intensity of training, and we look at equipment and the shoes, and insoles might be a part of that. We look at technique. Technique is so important. But so insoles is just another tool that is out there that it can be helpful if when used properly and appropriately. It's just another tool we can use that can really provide benefit. But it's just part of a bigger picture. And so, yeah, they've been helpful, but yeah, we don't want to lose sight of that bigger picture with all the other variables, that can certainly contribute to, somebody's technique and health and well-being.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So John, as a PT, I know that we do gait analysis as part of our training. It's one of the first things we study in PT school, right? Knowing about the gait cycle and all of the things that come with that, and even things that go wrong with that, and ways to fix it when people are coming from either surgery or just trying to have better gait, have better walking. And there have been so many people now in so many pop-up stores around the country, and the list goes on for the number of places that are doing gait analysis in their stores now, whether they're running stores or otherwise, with people who might not be PTs at all, right? They're just people who either have been trained or they've been somewhat guided in terms of what to look for a proper heel strike and push off and whatever else. And it seems like there are people who your products are in certain stores where people are able to do some kind of gait analysis as well before they get these insoles. What are your thoughts? I'm just curious. What are your thoughts on that? Like all the people who are out there now who are doing basically what we do on a regular basis in other stores or whatever else. They might not have the exact knowledge base that we have in terms of schooling, but they have been trained to some extent to be able to assess someone's gait, whether they're using technology or otherwise. I mean, I'm seeing some people with iPads and cameras out, and then be able to guys what kind of insole would be best for that consumer. So what are your thoughts on that as a PT?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, generally I like it, generally I love it, if, cause as you said, they're typically educated and they know what they're looking at. And, they can provide a little bit of education, a little bit of education can go a long way. And hopefully, it's obviously the right education, but, generally speaking, somebody's looking at your gait and they're looking at the different variables of a person's stride length, of maybe their vertical oscillation, in addition to their shoes, in addition to the foot pronating and supinating. That's just one part of it, but there's a lot of different variables. So, but generally speaking, it's good. I think education is good. Maybe it gives the person, because maybe the person on the treadmill, they have no idea. It's the first time having somebody look at their gait, right? And they don't know what heel strike versus, mid stance versus toe off and whatnot. But so maybe somebody can educate them a little bit and give them a little insight into the gait cycle and reasoning behind why they might want to consider one shoe over another, or maybe an insole or not. Generally speaking, I think it's a great thing, but hopefully those people that are doing that, they understand the big picture, and they're not trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, and they're working with the individual, and they are looking at those individual variables and working with that person to find the shoe or the product that works best for that person. And one good example is Cadence, not just because it's the name of my brand, but Cadence is a variable to running. It's a measure of time. I would use it as the number of steps per minute. Runners, typically beginning runners, tend to have long loping strides, right? And we can be so much more efficient if we shorten that stride length a little bit and increase the cadence. So increase the number of steps per minute. And a number thrown out there is, you got to be running at 180 steps per minute. You got to be 180 steps per minute. Well, not everybody, needs to be running at 180 steps per minute. Maybe you're starting off at 145 or 170, and just maybe 150, 160, 170 is good for a particular person. Maybe 185, 190 is better for another person. But anyway, it's just understanding that, to work with the individual, see what works best for them, introduce them to maybe just one or two concepts or variables that might help them at a time, and just understand their level of understanding, so you can, the person instructing them or in a gait training can give them what they need and just fit the lesson to their needs. But overall, I like the idea of gait analysis. It can be very educational, and hopefully that customer could then take that and use it as a tool. And maybe if they want to learn more about it, they can learn more, depending on what their level was coming in. But generally speaking, I like it. But like anything, you just got to be careful and take everything with a grain of salt, and understand, and hopefully understand what you're being taught, and so that you can use that to your benefit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my wife and I used to go into a number of these stores, and she would always want to get new sneakers, and I would be very quiet when I walked in, because I didn't want to.
Right.
You don't want to be that guy who's sitting
Yeah.
here,
Right.
look
Yeah.
over the shoulder of somebody else. So I just sit in the corner and let them do their thing, and I'll give my opinion at the end usually. But yeah, it's great. I think having anyone to look at anyone, and as they're walking, jogging, etc., just to give them a better perspective of what they should be using is great. It's better than nothing, of course. And I do
Yeah.
a number of the professionals or the store employees that I've seen have done a good job. They've done a great job in terms of at least being able to assess what shoe would work, what insole would be best. And, from using technology, once you can see something on a camera, which we all have been exposed to, and once you can see what you're looking for, it's not rocket science, but there is a science to it. So I think it's great as well.
Yeah. And that little bit of education, it just empowers the customer, right? Because you're giving them tools to kind of maybe take on their own and learn and then develop on their own. It's like home programs, right, that we give out in the clinic. It's giving the patient, the customer, tools to then take and work on their own to make them better. And we're just kind of imparting a particular knowledge and a particular maybe movements or exercises to them that they can then take and do on their own. So it gives them just power to over what they're doing,
Yeah,
and it's just another way to do that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. John, I'm really impressed by you. And, I'm curious, is there a team that you work with? Is there a factory? How does this thing work now? Because you're talking about having your product in various stores, and you have your online presence, but you also have your brick and mortar presences as well. How's this whole machine, no pun intended, how's this thing work?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I have relationships as far as manufacturing. I have relationships with four different factories I work with for the product manufacturing. But then once it's in my warehouse, then it's, of course, it started with two people basically. Well, me and my wife, and we'd get the product. The old story, the garage was full of product, and we'd ship it out on our own, right? We'd get people to buy it, and we'd ship it out. I'd chase down the FedEx guy, or you go to the UPS store, or post office, and ship it out. And but now I've got I work with the warehouse that warehouses all my product, and they fill the orders, and we send the orders to them, and they fill it. And I've got a team of about 12 people that from just general admin to sales. I've got a couple of sales people that really help me out, a regional account manager that just really helps with sales. It used to be me just cold calling and talking on the phone, and the guy, again, wearing many hats, that would do everything, but try to do everything. But yeah, I got a team of 12 with various activities and duties that help out. And then I like to think that also on that team are kind of an informal team of advisors, the store owners, the general managers, the podiatrists, the podorthists, the PTs, and the rabid customers, that the ultra runners, that say, hey man, what are you working on? Hey, throw something, I'd love to be a tester, and so you work all those people together, really help to define a product and say yay or nay, and tell you what works and what doesn't work. So that's kind of how I work these days. And it's, as you might imagine, it's grown quite a bit from just one or two people at home designing and shipping stuff out to a small team. But and that's, yeah, so that's kind of how it looks today for me.
That's great, John. Again, I'm really impressed by all the things that you've done, and you've definitely taken your platform for PT to the next level, and given your expertise and knowledge base now to the general public, where they can go out there and use those resources to, like we already said, take their next steps to whatever they're doing, to have more comfort, more support, whether they're running or just taking, going to work and being on their feet all day. They can now go out there and find ways to make that thing more comfortable. And I'm super impressed. John, where can listeners purchase Cadence Insoles, whether online or at any stores that you have across the country?
Yeah. Well, certainly online. Go to the website. You can learn about the product, learn about the different models, and then there's a list of resources, a list of retail locations where maybe you can find, hopefully, if you're interested in trying them out, you can find a place near you. And if you can't find a place near you, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll help you with that. I try to keep those retail locations up to date as best I can. And if there's no place near you, I can send you samples potentially, or just work out a way where you can try it if you're interested. And that's probably the best way to do it. Reach out to me, through that contact page. Happy to answer questions and chat and talk PT, talk insoles, talk shoes, good stuff like that. And yeah, again, PT, if anybody out there is considering the world of physical therapy, I highly recommend it. And I'm sure people reach out to you, Sean. But feel free to reach out to me as well. It's a great profession, and you won't regret it. It's just very rewarding, and I can't say enough about the profession of physical therapy um, and what a service it is to help.
Awesome.
And to help you. And it's great for you, the physical therapist. It's very satisfying. You know, you're helping people, so you're helping them. But it's also very rewarding to you, the therapist, to be able to help people the way you do.
Yeah. Yeah. John, where can people follow you on social media or otherwise? Where can they get the website for these Cadence Insoles?
Good question. I'm not as active in social media as I should be, but you know, they certainly can find me a little bit on Instagram and or just reach out to me again, that contact page from the website, you know, from my email, you know, go to the website and you know, cadenceinsoles.com, reach out to me. And happy to answer any questions that people may have. Yeah. And
Awesome.
highly recommend your podcast. And I thank you, Dr. Thomas, for your message and your mission. It's just, you know, unbelievable. The world needs more people like you and the Sunday Spartans, you know, and Ish, you know. I mean, gosh, you guys, the message you guys put out there is just fantastic, and thank you for it.
No problem. I appreciate you being on the show today. And listen, where you live right now? Where are you located?
San Luis Obispo,
Okay.
California. So
California.
kind of
Okay.
Central Coast, California.
Okay.
So yeah.
So if I'm ever out there, I have to
Yeah.
go. I ran the the LA Marathon there a couple years ago.
Okay.
It was very, very fun. So if I ever do come back out there for any kind of race, just visit family and friends, I'll definitely look you up.
Yeah, look me up, man. Look me up. And you're going to Berlin in September, you said,
Yeah,
huh?
Berlin, September. I'm training for that
Excellent.
right now. And
Okay.
yeah, the goal is to hit that 3:45 mark. So
Whew,
we'll see how
nice.
this thing goes. But yeah, I'll be rocking
Nice.
your insoles. So when I hit that
All
mark
right.
and I cross that line, you'll definitely get a shout out.
Good. Love it, man. Love it. Well, I
Uh,
appreciate it. I really appreciate it.
no problem. Thank you for being on the show, John. I really appreciate it.
Uh-huh.
And folks, don't forget all the great things he said today. He said so many things. His story is actually very inspiring, right? Talking about pivoting and shifting, giving so much service and years to the craft of physical therapy, and then using that same craft to go out there and become an entrepreneur and to create a whole new brand of insoles that, you know, as PTs, we help people every single day and we can suggest certain things, but they go out there and now create that thing that can also help somebody be better in their everyday activities or for their sports or fitness activities. He's doing that now and making so many headways across the country. So if you do not know, please go out there and support his company, CadenceInsoles.com. Go on there and see what's best for you. As you can see, I already have a couple of pairs here. I have my 5 pairs here, and they're great. And I'm going to be the first one to let you know that if you're looking for a great insole that's going to be helpful for you, try them out and see what's going on. They've been very helpful for me, and they'll probably help you as well. So go out there and try that. And don't forget our quote from today, folks. It's not enough to make steps that may someday lead to a goal. Each step must be itself a goal and a step likewise. Take your steps with insoles, take your steps in life, whatever steps you want to take, but let's just keep moving forward. And you will see, if you keep taking your steps to greatness, you too can be the best version of you. I will see you all next week. Have a good day. Have a great night. Have a great life and continue to be more today. Peace.